Hello, late September 2025. Still here, still on Mother Earth, still watching the planets as they appear to travel around us, reflecting back what's going on Mother Earth. Wanting to talk today about the transiting planets and the configurations, the significant ones coming towards us for the next period of months, in all of our charts and in Israel's chart and Donald Trump's chart. Specifically focusing on transiting Uranus, retrograding back into Taurus in the month of November. November could be quite a month. Uranus officially re-enters Taurus, where it will be for 6 months until next April. An explosive transition, explosive change, extreme, unexpected, disruptive change potentially taking place in Taurus things, our financial systems, our collective financial systems, and Earth itself, Mother Earth itself, disruptive earthquakes, tidal waves, volcanoes, these types of things may move Earth around a great deal during that period of time, that last 6 months that Uranus is in Taurus. The latter degrees of a sign that the planet, the outer planet, is leaving is when we see the full manifestation of this Uranian energy in Taurus things in our lives. So tremendous change potentially in our finances and again in Earth itself and our structures. So during the month of November, we will see this taking place. Saturn and Neptune entered Aries earlier this year in a dramatic way, and we're still seeing the energy of this unusual, rare conjunction manifesting in our lives. But Saturn is retrograding back into Pisces, and so is Neptune. Saturn is now in the sign of Pisces. It has been left behind Aries for a few months, and it'll re-enter next April. They both will enter. They'll enter a little earlier, March, April. We'll see them both enter again. Aries. But for now, they're back in Pisces. So Jupiter has been in Cancer all summer, and it's going to make it to the point of 25 degrees of Cancer, and then sit stationary for the whole month, and then turn retrograde and back up. Saturn is retrograding into Pisces, and it's going to back up to 25 degrees of Pisces. So transiting Saturn and transiting Jupiter are going to be precisely trining each other for the whole month of November. That's exceptional, and we'll all be experiencing it. Seed potential for organizational directed energy towards growth, towards expansion, practical concerns connected with growth and expansion. A large amount of energy being focused on Saturn things in our lives in a building manner. This is the trine between transiting Jupiter and Saturn. But where does it show up in your chart? Where do you have 25 degrees of Cancer or 25 degrees of Pisces? What's interesting is the country of Israel has 25 degrees at the very top of the chart, at the midheaven point. So Jupiter will be sitting right at the midheaven for the country of Israel. This is something, of course, that occurs once every 12 years, and we can look at the history of what has happened every 12 years since this country started in 1948. We can also see what's happening in Donald Trump's chart. Well, Jupiter is going to be at 25 degrees of Cancer, at the top of the chart for Israel, and on top of Venus. Venus was at 25 degrees of Cancer for Donald Trump. So Jupiter will be sitting right on Venus in his house of friends and acquaintances and the people that he associates with, presumably his administration. A big focus on socialization and in a public way. But this trine energy between transiting Jupiter and transiting Saturn is going to lock in Donald Trump's chart in a favorable way. Now, is this extreme manifestation of energy going overboard in some direction with behavior and activities? Very possible. But Saturn has retrograded back into Pisces, and Neptune and Saturn are still both traveling in the house of other people's finances, life and death issues, other countries' resources and finances, the eighth house. And so this is where they'll continue to travel, but this trine is going to lock in for the whole month of November. Now think of all the millions of babies that will be born all over the earth. Millions of babies will have Jupiter trine Saturn, a precise trine, 1 degree, in all of their birth charts. This is a seed energy in the nature towards a very practical, organized, efficient approach towards life. And growth and practicality usually lead to success. So some very interesting people being born during the month of November. But the experience for all of us, we're all going to have this Jupiter trine Saturn in our chart somewhere. And for those who are born with Saturn or Jupiter or any planet sitting at 26 degrees, 25 degrees of Pisces or Cancer, this trine locking in during November will be quite significant, reflective of a large amount of energy manifesting in their lives, presumably towards growth, for with practical, organized effort. Now I want to talk about this Uranus energy. Uranus was last at 29 degrees in June, July, just before it entered Gemini. In Donald Trump's chart, we see Gemini at the very top of the chart. And Mars is at 26 degrees of Leo in his chart, and his ascending sign is 29 degrees of Leo. So every time Uranus has been sitting at 28, 29 degrees, 26, 27, 28, the latter degrees of Taurus, Uranus has been squaring Mars and squaring his ascending sign. And we've been seeing this manifest with erratic, changeable, extremely rapid, disruptive change going on with his Mars energies, his assertiveness, and his personality and activity and behavior itself. The ascending sign in our charts refers to our behavior, our outer behaviors, as well as our physical vehicles. So Uranus square Mars is extreme energy, and the first time it was manifesting was when someone tried to shoot him and it hit him in the ear. So this energy is repeating for periods of months at a time for the last 2 years, and it's still ongoing, and it's going to continue especially strong in November through the winter, and then again especially strong in April for the last time. And what's notable is that in Donald Trump's chart, Mars sitting at 26 degrees is at the same point in the zodiac that Netanyahu's Mars sits at. In Netanyahu's birth chart, Mars is at 26 degrees of Leo. And the country of Israel has Mars at 28 degrees of Leo. So Uranus has been squaring Mars for Netanyahu, for the country of Israel, and for Donald Trump, off and on for the last 2 years. During this time of extremes, hard to call it warfare, of what's been going on in Palestine. People ask me, why don't I look at Palestine's chart? Because it's never been a country, it has no chart, it has no birth time, no birth date. I would love to be able to look at a chart for Israel, but none exists. This Israel's chart is very accurate. It was a relatively modern time period, 1948. That's relative in my life. I was a little child then, as was Donald Trump. So Uranus was squaring Mars for Trump, and it was squaring Mars for Israel, and it was squaring Mars for Netanyahu, just as they dropped the bombs on Iran's nuclear facility, June, July. And this Uranian square energy is coming back again, very strong in November and in April. It was also in effect in a powerful way in June, July, when the extremely terrible floods took place in Texas, with a great deal of life being lost. So these are the two big things, this Uranian energy back at the latter degrees of Taurus, and what that reflects in Trump's chart and in Israel's chart. When I look at the country of Ukraine, I see that Venus is at 28 degrees of Leo. Mars is at 25 degrees of Virgo. Saturn, therefore, is opposite Mars for the whole month of November. With Ukraine, for the whole month of November, this stationary Saturn in Pisces is going to be opposite Mars. Look at your chart. Do you have any planets at 25, 26 degrees? There may be a connection between this Jupiter-Saturn energy and the planets in your own chart. Another thing taking place in November, just to make things interesting, Mercury will be retrograde again during the month of November. So patience always required when Mercury's retrograde. Our communications usually affected. Our internet, our power, the source of our power, there may be disruptions. And yet that wonderful Jupiter trine Saturn energy is ongoing for the whole month. Take note, take care.